Yo, what is up guys? In this video, I'm going to share with you the strategy I used in the recent solo Victory Cup to go from struggling to Qual weekly to now placing top 1000 in the Victory Cup Opens. Through using this strategy, I was able to outplace many notable pros such as Blaha, Noah Riley, and even Mongrel. I'm going to VOD review through my games where I got 3 top 5s in a row so you can learn how to do exactly the same. If you do enjoy this video, please do drop a like and smash that subscribe button for more competitive content just like this. Alright, so starting off with the first of my top 5 games, in this game I got a 6 kill second, and immediately off drop what I want you guys to notice is that I am scanning around the POIs instantly. Now the reason for this is because I want to know exactly how many people are going salty, whether I'm conned by this guy for example, so we check salty, make sure there's 4 people going there, and then I scout over to the broken house over here because I know this has another few chest spawns, which if it's unconned, I can then rotate there in the later game. So immediately once scouting around my drop, I know I've got bridge unconned, so I can loot up very quickly. And then I know on the map that I can go up to Broken House because I've scouted and this bit's unconned. And I know that Salty is pretty heavy con, so I'm not going to want to go near there. So as you can see, we've rotated over to the Broken House because I know that no one landed here, so I knew we could scrap that. And that all comes from just scouting off of drop. Now you may be saying, okay, that's great, but you've got really shambles loot. Well, me personally, the strategy I use that I find really helpful is just guaranteeing that you get off spawn, whether this means being shambles and disengaging away from other players, or landing at a contested POI and risking dying. I always go for the earlier option of choosing to land a less congested POI because I think that it gets you off spawn on more of a regular basis, and now I can come in full shield, full HP, and look to third-party players that might be weaker within the POI. So as I'm running around Pleasant here, I know that there's likely to be players, and I know that they're going to be lower HP because of reasons I already mentioned. So when I creep inside this house and I hear that there is a player on the top floor right here, as you guys will see, he hides from me, but then I realize he's here after he starts running, I immediately look to aggress this player. Now the reason for this is because one, I know I'm in low elo due to the late start, so I've got a good chance of dominating this kid because he's probably not very good, and 2, that he's got less health than me, and I've got 3 big pots if this gets into an issue. If we look at this guy's loadout, for example, he's not had the chance to farm mats like I have. He's got 9 builds. He hasn't really got any spare shield or big pots. He's got that chug, but I'm never going to let him pop it. Now, immediately, I'm asserting confidence onto this guy, and how I'm doing that is with this spray weapon. I'm on height, and I'm pressuring the guy immediately. Now, it turns out this player is really bad, so I'm able to get the SMG spray onto him. We get a bit more damage, and eventually, I catch him lurking in the backside here, and we pick off that free elim. But now, immediately, we get pushed by another player, so I make the smart peek on this guy, so this guy realizes I'm not bad, and immediately look to try and take height off of this player. The reason for this is because height often controls the fights, especially in these early off spawn fights. So as you guys can see, I immediately look to take height, and once I take height, this guy gets a little bit scared and he boxes up down below me. Now, once this guy is down below, I'm pretty confident, so I try and apply some pressure, and this guy just ends up disengaging, and that all come from me applying confidence. But as this is happening, I then have a same player do the same thing to me. If we speed up, you guys will see that I get ramped by this player right here. Immediately, to look that I'm not bad, I've ramped up onto height, so again, I have the high ground position, and then I look to pressure this player just with a bit of SMG spray, which drops him down. Immediately, because I've applied some pressure onto this guy, he knows, 1, I'm not scared of him, 2, I'm pretty confident I'd like to fight, so he chooses to make the smart decision to disengage. We get a bit of damage off him, and then as you guys will see, I'm looking around, I'm pretty good with the sniper, and we managed to pick up that free snipe on that guy right there. So I've come in late when every other player was weak, and I've cleaned up 2 clean elims, and 2 players have disengaged from Pleasant, meaning now I have control of the POI. We know that snipers are very common in this meta, and most people are going to be running a sniper, especially in solos, or at least that's what I found in this tournament. But the advantage of running a sniper is that it gives you a really good opportunity to get opening damage onto a player. As you can see, I spot this player in front of me, and immediately I make sure to line up the snipe. I don't want to waste the shot. And once I line up the snipe, I hit him for 110. Now, what's good about this is this guy's 90 HP, and if I push quickly, the max he's probably going to get to is 2 minis, which is 150, as you guys can see. And I've already got the confidence over this player. 1, because I've sniped him, 2, because I'm on height, and 3, because I've got the health advantage. From there, we try and apply a bit of pressure. I piece control him with a cone, open that up, 1 pump him, and it's a free elim just like that. We get ourselves a purple pump and a nice refresh of materials. Okay, so as you guys can see now, we're at half zone, and I'd like you guys to take a second to guess which player I am. Am I one of these players on congested side that's rotating in towards the zone here? No, I'm not. I'm this player over here that's on dead side of zone, and I've done this rotate around. As you guys know, I got that kill up there. I've done this rotate around to the dead side of zone where I'm chilling on my own. Now, there is a player over here by me, but what am I doing? Well, I'm sat in a bush, and this goes back to, if you did watch my video on the solo Victory Cup the other day, I talked about minimizing movement in mid game, and here's what I mean mean by it? In this bush, no one knows that I'm here. I can just minimize movement. I don't have to run around and risk getting into a fight like some players might on the edge of map like up there, for example. I'm just completely segregated and on my own. Now from here, I can just use the rift because rifts are a massive part of my strategy, as you guys will see later in the video. And from there, I can just rift and I get a free rotate into the next zone. Again, being on the dead side of zone right here, if we have a look, so many people are congested over near Lazy Lake. I've got a big choice of where I can go. I can try and go deep and get to dead side over here. Now, I want you guys to pay attention to this play because I believe this was really smart from me, and it's a situation lots of you guys may find yourselves in. If we have a look here on the map, you guys will see that I'm sort of at the back of a queue of players in the zone here. The zone has pulled to my northeast, and I've got GTA Lamine in front of me, and then D's Meezy. So not only am I at the back of these three players, but how exactly am I going to rotate this? Now, many of you would say, okay, we'll go around the dead side of the zone, but as you guys can see, there's three players here which I've already identified. So I'm pressuring GT Lamine here, and the reason why I'm pressuring him is to try and get him to rotate in front. The same with D's Meezy. If these guys don't rotate in front of me, then I'm not going to be able to get into zone. So that's why I'm spraying them, trying to pressure. And as you guys will see, I'm scouting behind and I've realized that I can't go that way. And GT Lamine sort of takes the hint and decides to go. Now, the smart thing about this is that these two end up getting into an engagement together. And this is where I actually make a mistake, and I want you guys to watch this. Here, I tried to push in thinking that these players would be weak. But actually, look at where I am positioned in zone. Why would I take this fight right here when these zones on my back? I could just simply go around it, get in front, and get to zone. Well, about halfway through this fight, I realized sort of what the hell am I doing, and I grabbed these impulses that are spare loot on the floor here to my right hand side. I think many people have slept on impulses so far this season. I did talk about them in my meta video. They certainly ain't the greatest, grapplers are better, but impulses are still useful. As you guys can see now, I'm not looking to shoot anyone whatsoever, and I'm just blocking off my angles. I'm trying to play low-key. As you can see, I'm blocking off my angles from height with the cones. Same as we get around here, I'm pretty sure I block off my angles from height, making sure no one can look at me. There you are. And I just use an impulse nade to get in the front side of zone. Now, the second thing I want to talk about right here is notice where I've boxed myself in zone. This is me right here. Now, as you guys may think, okay, so why have I gone so much further into zone? I could have saved the impulse and just boxed up there. Now, the reason for this is because what happens in every game is that players go deeper into the zone, and then you have the opportunity to look back at players on the backside of zone. Like this guy, for example, that is getting focused, this Lowley's guy right here, when people are tagging him up. This would be me. I'd be stuck in this position as well. And now when we have a look at the zone that's got a max pull, because I've rotated a little bit earlier, I've got a head start on all of these players at the backside of zone right here. I think in this meta as well, it's important that you guys learn to rotate early, because as you can see, there's so much space at this front side of zone here that's fully unclaimed. I recognize this and I impulse straight to the front side because I see the opportunity to build and then refarm wood. So that's what I'm trying to do. There is a couple other players doing this with me. If we have a look at the zone, there is another player doing this with me that does a good rotate, but it just allows you to get in front of everyone. Unfortunately, in this situation, I do believe someone crash pads on my head and hits me hard. But from here, I can box up and I can just chill in metal. And if we look, I'm already pretty close to zone. Considering I was back here where Bartos is, for example, I could have been stuck back there, but I'm not. I've gone early, and now I've got an easy close rotate to the next zone. So we're into the 8th zone now, and I want to recognize what I've done once again. And that's I've boxed a little bit into zone, as you guys can see, so we can hold the players at backside of the zone. Notice how Lowly's was the player that was in the backside of zone earlier, and look at where he is again. But by rotating earlier, and staying frontside, I've allowed myself to put in a position where I can have a look at him and see if I can pick him off. All of us frontside are looking at this guy backside, so it's inevitable that people are going to look at him, and as he comes in, I pick up that free elim there, which I can use as a refresh, because I only have 87 builds, and I recognize that I can use this as a refresh. Now, in 4x speed, as you guys can see, I basically wait for zone to pull back, and once it pulls back, I claim this loot low ground, and that gets me not only an extra like 50 builds, but also the legendary minigun. Now, with there being only 8 people left at this exact moment, I make the smart decision to try and elevate my layer. And the reason for this is because I've got this guy on my back, I've got Pixon right in front of me, D's Meezy is down here, but I myself, if we click on me right now, have 109 builds. So I know that I can look to try and take height off of GT Lamine. So I will immediately look to elevate myself, as you guys can see, and I block off my angle to height. And then from out there, I look to minigun down height. And I minigun down height, therefore meaning I now have the opportunity to go up to height and claim it. Now, this guy does land in the tree, which does cause a little bit of a problem. As you guys can see, I try and get damage back onto him, but it's all getting a little bit scuffed. I fall down, But, right, so now let's switch back to my POV, and in this situation, I'm just popping a big pot. I need to get my health back. I know that it's very likely the guy on height is still chilling in the tree, and you guys will see exactly how this unfolds, and I'm going to let this play out because it's smart what I do here. I try and ramp him up for height, and then I can notice at this exact point that he's not going to let me have height. He's the build above me. There's no point in me fighting this. I have 50 builds. This guy still has 36 builds, so he's not going to let me take height easily, and I make the smart decision to recognize, okay, this guy's on height. Let's just drop down. I've still got 50 builds. I can still play out this game and look to get kills off of other people, like people on low ground, such as Sewa here, for example. So I'm going to explain how I finished off this game from my POV. So as we've dropped down from height, I know that lots of people on low ground here are going to be pretty shambles and low HP, like Sewa is right here. So we can pick up an easy elim on the right there using the M&M minigun, of course. And from here, I've now got 600 mats. So immediately what I try and do here, because if we look on the map, I'm stuck at the backside of zone and Deezmeezy is in the good spot of zone. Even when there is only a few players left in zone, the idea of going front side and looking back is still important. So I can tarp my way through to the front side of zone and continue to tarp, and this allows me to then look back at other players that might be in the backside of zone. As you guys can see, we pick up a free elim there, and from there we continue to spray back onto the other player. Now, by the way, the reason why I am putting it in 4x speed with a minigun is to avoid getting copyrighted with the M&M music. But from here, I look to spray onto the Deezmeezy to see if I can get any tags onto him. We rotate front side, we grapple to the front side again, and now we look to look back once again. The same strategy we've been using this entire game. Grapple to the front side of zone, look back to try and get elims. We do it again. It seems to keep working. And from this point onwards, I'm starting to get choked. Now, if we do have a look at the drone, for example, and the drone's going to be on the other side of the map. If we have a look on the drone, if we speed up the drone speed, you guys will see that right down here, I'm stuck on the lowest layer in zone right here. So this is not very good, especially with it pulling uphill. XD Box is most doubtably going to win this game because he's on height. So realistically, I've only got a few options left. Now, I did have Alpha, my duo, in the call at the time of this, and he pointed out a really good thing that I could do in this situation, and that's going to be playing medkits. So I play my medkits. I've got 3 of them, and this just allows me to camp out the extra 9 points that I got for coming to the top 2. I then grapple up, and in this situation, I've got 3 builds, 28 HP. I'm not really going to win this game, but the job's already done. I've already secured the top 5, which I need, and I've got 6 elims. That's a massive, like, 65-point game, and all we did was just rotate frontside with the grapple and look back for elims. So now we're going to review my 4-kill third, which allowed me to get enough points to Qual after just 3 games. So as I'm dropping in, again, similar to the last game, you can see that I'm scouting my surroundings, and I notice, hold on a minute, no one is going salty. If we look on the map, there's not a single person conning salty springs, and this often happens, and the reason for this is because people think that areas like salty that are really congested in ranked are going to be extremely contested in tournaments, and then no one goes here in tournament. So I get myself salty on uncon, which allows me to, of course, get lots of loot and movement. So because I scouted off spawn, now look at the loot that I've come out of salty with in this game. We got 6 bigs, which is great in this meta because big shields are quite hard to find. And I've also got a lot of good maps and some movement, being the launch pad and bouncer traps. These are going to be extremely important later on in the game to make sure that I can rotate through the moving zones. Now, I want to bring your guys' attention onto 2 other things, and the first one is that I'm carrying a sniper. The reason why I'm carrying a sniper, 1 is because I'm pretty good with them, and 2 because it allows you to get possibly an instant kill with that just being a sniper headshot, or you can hit a body shot like I did in the first game that we watched in today's video, and that allows you to then get opening damage, which you can capitalize on to win this fight. Now, what I also want to bring your guys' attention to is look at the replay bar, for example, and look at where I pick up my kills in this mid-game, not in the mid-game, in this game. As you guys can see, there is no kills in the end game, no kills in the mid game, and yet I still pick up 4 kills, and they all come in the final section of the game. And what I want to stress is that you guys don't need to take fights in the mid game, you don't need to take fights in the early game. Prioritize making it to end game every single time through smart rotates, as I'm about to show you guys in this game. So I've used the car from next to salty to rotate deeper into zone, but what actually is the reason for me rotating deeper into zone? Well, I'll show you guys. If we have a look here at the zone, you guys will see that this is me right here. I'm boxed up on this hill, but look at salty over near the congested side where we were. I was right here. Look at this. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2 of them are already in a fight. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 players. 11, 12 down there weeping that all could rotate into this same area of salty. And this is a perfect example of congested side. I would always look to use cars as well in this meta because they're really good to helping you get good rotations into dead side. So you guys can see that I've gone deeper into this zone to avoid getting stuck in the congested side fighting that is going to inevitably happen. Now, as I'm sat in this little stone base on this hill, this is the zone which I've pulled. Now, I want to ask you guys, think about this. What would you do in this position? Would you stay put and then have a look at all the players rotating through congested side to look to third-party fights like this? Or would you rotate deeper in zone? Well, I'll show you guys exactly what I did here and the reason why it worked. Now, I popped in the car and simply looked, obviously refarming my brick on the way, but I looked to just push deeper over time into this zone. And again, what am I doing? I'm utilizing the cars because the cars are really OP for these mid-game rotations. As I'm refarming my stone, I'm going in the car, and already if we look in zone, my positioning already, considering I was up here, I'm now moving more towards the dead side of zone. And if I can get out here towards retail row, which is where I end up getting, then look at how dead this whole area is over here. So I've done this full rotate here onto the dead side of zone. If we have a look on the map, this is where I was before, and look at how many players are around or having to rotate into this area. And then look at this entire radius around me right here. I have one person who for some reason was stupidly trying to key me, but I'll show you guys how I managed to get out of this situation. So here I've gone down to refarm brick after using 200 mats to build up my base, and as I'm refarming brick, I'm completely clueless as to the fact that, as you guys can see in the bottom right, there is a player down here near me. As I start to come up, I get footsteps up from the right hand side, and that alerts me to the fact that this player is here. Now there's two options I could do in this scenario. I could try and push up onto Zuko Riley and try and reclaim my high ground on my base, but if I do that, I'm risking taking a mid-game fight. And I've already been in this game sort of 10 to 15 minutes, and there's still 46 players up, so I've really only got a couple points from placement. So what do I do? I make the smart decision to just disengage away from this fight, blocking off everything I can in wood, and dropping down the hill. Had I have risked taking this mid-game fight against Zuko Riley, who knows what could have happened? So I just disengage and drop down the mountain, choosing to make the smart play and once again avoid fighting in mid-game. So after disengaging, again similar to the first game, my objective becomes, okay, so how am I going to try and find something that will help me rotate through the next zone, or how can I position myself well to get to the next zone? Well, as you guys can see, I've now got this rift down my base here, so I simply build up in brick and then refarm the brick that was all down here, and this allows me to just camp on the rift. Now, due to my position in zone, not only am I 1, unlikely to get keyed, which, shocker, I don't, but 2, I'm also not likely to pull the zone, because as we know in Fortnite, most of the zones don't tend to pull out to the water. But this isn't an issue because I have this rift next to me, so when next zone pops, I can simply just rift and rotate into the next zone, as I'm about to do. So pretty much I haven't really had to move for 4 minutes, again prioritizing minimal movement. We spoke about this in the last game, but now look at the zone. Because I haven't had to move and because zone has pulled really far, look at how congested this side of zone is, and look at down where I am. This whole half of the thing, if you was to put a line down here right there, there's only 2 players, and that's me and one guy who's based above me who is on a pad right here because he hit a headshot snipe. Now the reason why I haven't had to move yet is again because I've got the rift. Now this guy does actually start to pressure me, so I just drop down and hit the rift. And from the rift now I have a free rotate into the next zone, but I'm sat here thinking, right, how do I play this next zone? I know that the left side of zone is going to be more congested, and as I start to glide around, I'm scouting and I see, look, players here, players up here, players around there, and the right hand side looks pretty free. So I think, okay, let's go to the less congested right hand side of zone. We do smartly reuse Eminem's wind tunnel to gain a little bit of height to make sure that I get over these players below us right here. Now again, the reason for this is because if we look at the map, what I've done in the previous game, again I use the same strategy game on game. You don't want to sit on the edge of zone, you want to go a little bit deeper. As you guys can see, if I click play, you can see me glide a little bit deeper into zone, and then I box right here. And the reason for this is because that then allows me to be a little deeper, and I can look back in other players more towards the backside of zone, like these 2 right here. So I've sat in this box again for a couple minutes, minimizing movement, we've spoken about this, but I've pulled a pretty far zone. Now in this zone, I don't panic. I would go early if I had a grappler and wrap around the right hand side here. As you guys can see, that's pretty unconned, but I don't. What I do have is a launch pad. So I wait until last second and I pop my launch pad. But as you guys will see when I pop the launch, holy, that is a lot of players. So how would we go about navigating this? Well, in a game that's extremely stacked like this, the last thing you want to be is one of these players on the backside of zone that is likely going to get choked in the backside and eventually end up going down. So the second I land, I immediately look to continue rotating in and avoid stopping. The reason for this is because there's so many players in front of me right now. If we have a look on the map, I'm here, and this is because I pulled a max zone and I've got so many in front of me. So what do I need to do? I need to get in front and into the front side of zone as quick as possible. We pop one bounce pad, and I know that there is so many players around me right now. Avoid taking any fights in a rotating zone. There's no point, especially not when I don't need a refresh, and I continue to rotate in. From here, I could stop. I could box up right now, but really, what do I get out of this? There's a lot of players there, and if I box right here, notice where I'll be positioned in zone. I still won't be in zone, but I'll also be on the sort of congested side. So what do? I slide down, and again, I do the same thing that I've said so many times already. I go a little bit deeper into zone. If you have a look, I'm one of the deepest players in this game, and there's a lot of players in front of me. And the reason for this, so you can look back to the backside of zone and pick up refreshes. So far, I hope you guys have realized that going deeper into the zone and going frontside, then looking backside for refreshes is my main strategy. And here is the reason why it's important. I can see that this fight is going on right next to me, and then I'm easily able to pick up a free elim on this player right here. There was a little bit towards the backside of zone. From there, I can then claim this loot, and if you guys notice, this was the refresh that I need. Obviously, I didn't have a grappler off spawns, apologies for replay lag, but I'm able to here get 150 metal, for example. I'm now cat's metal, chug jug, grapple, spaz, max mats. That was the perfect refresh that I needed in order to get deeper in this game. Had I have been a little bit further back in zone, it could have been me that got farmed by someone else that was more frontside, and then they could have got the refresh on me. But due to good positioning, now look at the setup I have. I've got 3 big pots, a chug jug, grappler, like everything I need with pretty much cat mat. And again, I'm just a little bit deeper in zone than everyone else to avoid this congestion up here. I'm one of the deepest players. Now, one of the most common ways that people go down in the Victory Cups, especially when you get to this endgame scenario, is by jumping in on players on moving zones. Notice how as I rotate, my sole focus is to get to the front side of zone, and I don't look at anyone to try and get picks on. I just grapple all the way to the front side and then box up. And the reason for this is because, again, then I can look back at players that are further towards the backside of zone. If we have a look on the map, I'm going to be, again, one of the players in the front side of zone, and there's so many people behind me that I can look back on and try and pick up a refresh. So there's still 15 up, and this arguably I think is the decision which made me do really, really well in this game. Now, if we have a look at the zone right now, look at what we can see. Look at where all the players are congested, and they are all to the north side of zone. The south side, if I was to draw a line completely across here, there is not a single player down here, and I know that this is going to be the case because I've had a lot of experience rotating dead side and doing rotates in these type of games. Now, what do? I rotate to the front side of zone. The same strategy that I've been talking about the entire time, so then I can box up in hards and look back. And if I pause at this exact moment, I believe this to be why I got so far in this game. Look at the zone right now. Look at where I am. I'm the only player in front side, meaning I can now pop the big pots that I've got in my inventory to get back up to 100. But look at all the players that I can now look back on that are at the back side of zone. And genuinely, this strategy is what allowed me to get 3 top 5s in a row and Qual with 176 points, I believe it was. And also the advantage of being at the front side of zone is, look, for example, Monox, User, Kazuma, for example, they're all weak. So if I was to look back and try and pick up an elim, then this is a good opportunity to get some AR kills, especially if you are a controller player. But I choose to expand and claim space on the front side of zone and then pop my big pots to heal up. Now, from here on, I'm going to let the endgame play out in 1x speed, and I'm going to talk you through all my thoughts that I was having so you guys know what to do in endgame when you're in this scenario. Now, as we have a look, as I come out of my box right here, again, we have this same scenario where everyone's on the backside of zone because the zone's constantly moving, and there is a lot of space front side of zone. So I take advantage of this and grapple to front side, again, then looking to box in hard mats. This time I can't heal up, but I know that players around me are low because I've just heard this guy get cracked. Look to apply some pressure. There's nothing there. There's no need for me to W key that. Now, as I just sit in this box and wait for the zone to tick out, I'm immediately not looking to take fights. And the reason why I'm not looking to take fights is because I've got 500 mats. There's no point in me trying to take a fight with anyone if I can still get deeper into this game. Again, my whole thought process right now is get deep into that top 5. Now, again, the front side of zone opens up. I've talked this strategy through the whole video. If you haven't already made a note of it, please do. Grapple to the front side of zone or rotate to the front side of zone and begin to look back on other players rotating in. And so as we sit in the front side of zone right here, there is some players next to me, but I can see this fight on the back side of zone from players that haven't rotated. Even though it is just a couple boxes, it makes a massive difference. This guy picks up an elim, he's weak, we try to get the shot, we can't. So what do? Okay, I grapple back to the front side of zone and repeat the process. Once I'm in the front side of zone, you guys guessed it, I'm immediately just tarping in, staying at the front side, and then I'm looking back for some free elims. And just with a little bit of awareness and knowing where my opponents are likely to be, I know that this player is likely to come through here. I'm waiting with my shotgun reticle, I see him come through, we pick up that easy kill. And I've still got 230 mats, so again, we look to do the same thing. We just look to go to the front side of zone. If I speed up, we grapple to the front side of zone, and now we chill again. Now, at this point, I'm top 4. I've already achieved what I needed to achieve, which was the top 5. Yes, I'm not on height, so I'm probably not going to win this game. So it's just about getting as deep into that top 5 as possible. I know there's a player in the backside of zone that's popping medkits, and I can see this player right next to me. And with me only having 5 builds, time is very nearly up. But I just try and avoid getting covered by height. I cover my top right here, and as I run out, I can see that Leo in front of me, most players at this point in the game are likely to be very weak. Cover my top so the player above can't spray down onto me because I'm very weak, and we pick up that easy refresh. Now I'm into the top 3. I mean, we get 500 mats off this. I heal up, but it's inevitable that we're going to get keyed by the guy from height. As you guys will see, he drops down with the drum gun, and he inevitably wins this game. But what I'd like to say is that only one player can play height. So instead of just keying height every single game, in this meta, you can use this one item on your screen right here. You can grapple to the front side of zone. You can use this. You can look back and you can pick up kills. And it gets you top 5 after top 5 after top 5 if you play it smart. And that strategy alone, I repeated then in the game after to get another 0 kill force. So that's a top 10 in the first game or a top 11 for like, it's pretty much close enough. So like I said in my video, you need 1 top 10 and 2 top 5s and you're cool. I got the top 10. I then got 2 good top 5s right here. And that left me on 131 points after just 3 games. This game boosted me up to 176 and then we died to a pro in the last game. This game was won by Thomas HD. But as you guys can see, if you play correctly with the strategy, you'll get the top 5s you need and you're cool with minimal effort. Thank you guys for watching today's video. I really hope it has helped you out. If it has, please make sure to drop a like and subscribe. I've got many more videos coming just like this. And make sure to click this video on screen to make sure you know how to qualify for the Solo Victory Cup this week.